Are cheap aquarium LEDs from Amazon any good? Well, I've bought a NICREW ClassicLED Plus aquarium light, and as you can see, it's made in China. Lots of things are made in China. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's of poor quality or in fact will be no good or fit for purpose. This particular light is a 4-foot LED unit, however it's got expanding brackets on the end and that can take it up to 150 centimetres. There are also some spare brackets in there as well, just in case you want to raise it slightly higher from your aquarium. Here's the second bracket installed. It is slightly longer than the pre-installed bracket and also it's slightly taller, so that's quite a nice little feature. You wouldn't get that in most lights, so this just allows you to mount it on a bigger tank, a longer than 4-foot tank, and also raise it slightly above the original stand. Inside you get your power LED driver. You can see here that this unit is 48 watts, so it's quite low power. We also have our 3-pin plug as well, so completely suitable for the UK. I imagine if you bought it in America you'd have a 2-pin and so on. So in terms of actual quality of the unit, it does feel a lot cheaper. Now I have to mention this light was only £60 from Amazon, and if you are going to be paying for a known brand light for a 4-foot unit with this many LEDs for a planted aquarium, which is what this light actually says it is, it's for a planted fish tank, then you would probably expect to pay a lot more than £60. So this is why I'm saying that this is a cheap light. And also there are smaller versions. This is the larger one. There is a 2-foot one for around £30. The same sort of LEDs, the same shape and everything. It's just a bit shorter. So these aren't exactly high-end lights. The casing feels like aluminium, and that's supposed to be the heat sink to draw the heat away. And we'll just give it a scratch just to see what it is. It is metal, and you can see that it's metal coated in a black plastic, so that's quite nice. Some of the more higher end lights, they're not really coated in plastic, but it's as long as it's metal, that's fine. And that is the same material as well. And on the end we have black plastic ends. So the first thing that jumps out at me when I turn it over is that the plastic casing on top of the LEDs isn't actually very good quality. It feels really cheap plastic, and also you can see in the reflection from this light it's already scratched. So it's a very, very soft, cheap, and it feels just generally quite bad, the plastic on there. However, I'm sure it would protect from water splashes and condensation. And also we have this here, do not immerse in water. So unlike a lot of the more modern LED lights that are coming out of brands such as Fluval, Interpet, or some other well-known brands, this is not in any way waterproof. It might just be water resistant. IP67, so it is water resistant. Ideally you'd be looking for IP68 if you were after it to be waterproof. However, IP67 isn't too bad. And just to test the water resistance of this light, I did very, very quickly submerge the light, even though it says not to, and you can see there is in fact now water inside of it. So even IP67, which you should get a little bit more water resistance, this has had a submerging of just the end for probably half a second and water got straight into it. So I'd even probably doubt the IP67 rating of this unit. So I took the end cap off the light just to see the quality of the sealing. You can see the water that got into it really, really easily, and it's just a really bad job of silicone essentially. Very, very quickly put on there, and I think that's just to stop water getting behind the LEDs, but just really terrible. You wouldn't really see this on a higher quality light. And also there's absolutely no silicone in the end cap. In most of the good brand lights that I see, this end here is either just completely plugged with silicone, or you have some kind of gasket or something around the end cap which stops water going into the main light unit. But on this one there's absolutely nothing. In fact, there are 4 holes which allow water just to flow straight in. So the light has a simple dual rocker switch. The first one does the blue lights, and I can see that they are actually quite a nice blue. And then if you turn it on to position 2, you have your full spectrum light. We have lots of whites, we've got some blues, lots of blues in fact, and 2 reds and a green, every foot or so, half a foot. Quite bright, in fact. So that's what you get for your £60. It's not bad, but I wouldn't say I am overly impressed with it. I mean, if you're going to be growing some low light plants, then sure. Obviously this tank's got a fair few floating plants, so that may be dampening the light a little bit. This area here hasn't got any plants, so you can see there's a decent amount of light getting through. I wouldn't say that this is particularly blowing my mind. However, if you're just looking for a light that is kind of good for illumination of your tank and possibly growing some moss or something, then yeah, this would be okay. So here's another look at it on my little macroalgae reef tank here. This is salt water, and actually it's not too bad. To be fair, for £60, it's okay. Now bear in mind this tank's 5 foot and 2 foot deep. It's actually doing an okay job. The ends are dark, but that's because it's not as long as 5 foot. But the central area, I'd actually say that's a reasonable job. So definitely you are getting what you pay for when it comes to the Chinese lights. Now I'm not necessarily saying Chinese in a bad way, but it does seem to be Chinese brands that are flooding the Amazon market and eBay market with quite cheap LED lights. Now the thing about these lights as well is you just don't know, and they don't tend to tell you either, what LED they're using, because there are lots of LEDs on the market. There are some that are better than others, and you don't tend to get told what brand or specification of LED they are. So it's very difficult to work out whether the lights are any good for plants or if they're just for illumination. In terms of heat, it is reasonably warm, but no warmer than I would expect from an LED light. Most LED lights get quite warm to the touch, and this isn't really any different. The sort of test of this probably be the longevity of the light, whether it lasts particularly long. Because if these get too hot, they do tend to burn out and you have issues. But I should suspect this should be okay. The reviews on this light on Amazon are actually reasonably decent. Other than the odd 40 unit, which always happens, whatever the brand or whatever the type of light, you always get ones that don't work properly. But this one seems to work quite well. So in summary, when it comes to these brands of lights, especially this one, the NICREW, I would say you definitely get what you pay for. Be very careful with the particular light that you choose, because you may be happy, but you also may be disappointed. They don't tend to give you much information on the listing page. It tends just to be the same fluff on every single page, and how much of that is true, it's debatable. But I would definitely say they're not as high quality as the known brands of lights, but you probably know that anyway just from the fact that they're a lot cheaper. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of this kind of content, please remember to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Well, once again, thanks for watching and happy fish keeping.